Hey, everybody. Jazz
Hi.
hands. Okay. We are here with our executive director, Jill McConnell, who's down here on my screen. Hi, Jill.
Hi, Jill.
It's very
Oh,
phone call.
Maybe we will.
Ignore that phone call. Can't possibly be more important than what we're doing here.
it isn't. I think it's
Okay.
a salesperson.
Okay.
All right.
Well, we invited Jill to come and round up, I guess, or wind up. What am I trying to say? Our
Season finale.
Season finale. So we're gonna take a little bit of time off to kind of regroup and maybe like figure out the format, and then we'll be back in October. But we thought it'd be a great time to bring our executive director in to find out what she's been reading and watching and listening to during
Yeah.
quarantine and this summer. So yeah, do you want to kick it off? What have you been reading, Jill?
Well, I do a book group for some library patrons. So a lot of the books I read are for the book group, but I get to pick those books. So one book that I selected that I really surprisingly enjoyed, and a lot of the other group members did too, was The Operator by Gretchen Berg. It's a debut novel of hers, but very well done. The reason I wanted to read it is because it takes place in 1950s small town Ohio, which I grew up in a small town Ohio, so I thought this would be kind of right up my alley, and it really was. They mentioned a lot of places that I was very familiar with. But I have to say what surprised me the most is that there was an awful lot happening in this small town, and my jaw literally dropped several times throughout this book.
Wow.
From the different, scenes or things that happened. So it was very engaging,
Okay.
I would say. A really, really good
Like
book.
what genre would it fall under? Is it?
I'd say probably popular fiction.
Okay.
It wasn't really light, I wouldn't say, but it was kind of, I could see a small series being made or short series being made based on it. There was a lot of drama, so it was good.
Cool. The Operator. I wrote it down. I will add that to my list. Okay.
Is it set in like the 1950s or something? Is that right? Did you say that already? I'm sorry if you did, but I remember getting that book here and it seemed pretty interesting. So
yeah, it was really
all right, Rod, what are you reading? Anything?
I just finally finished the book Saigon. Sai, as in like gone.
Yeah.
It's about a Vietnamese refugee and his family that moved to Carlisle, PA. So it's it's a memoir. So
and I think
again, I grew up in a small town in Pennsylvania, not Carlisle, but
I think we followed your journey with that book.
Yeah, I finally finished it. It was a really good book. Like I felt, of course being Vietnamese and dealing with all that was different and something that I didn't understand, but like a lot of his other issues that like this sort of like his Vietnamese or his like foreignness in this town kind of compounded like problems that everyone has, trying to fit in, trying to figure out what you want to do, trying to like find a friend group, but also dealing with like being the only Vietnamese family in this small town. And, this is in like late 70s, 80s, early 90s. So it's like the Vietnam War is still fresh.
Right.
People have obviously like issues with, some of the veterans were weird to them, like grocery store trips, and it was just kind of like a layer on top of just your normal struggles growing up. And I don't know. So it's like you kind of can like relate. It's like everyone has like those same issues.
Yeah.
But then on top of it, he has this like thing he really can't control that causes, and even like those microaggressions, like, oh, you should be better at math because you're Asian. And he's really into like, he becomes like a literature guy. That's like what he ends up going to college for. So he's like really into books and music. And so he's, reading all these books when they're just like, well, you should be, better at math or whatever. And like this kind of thing. So, and just even like his parents and like their relationship is something I feel like everyone can kind of relate.
And do we own that book? Did you buy it?
We do. I did buy it. I don't know if it's come in yet, but we have it on Libby, both ebook and audiobook, which is how I listened to it,
Yeah.
or I mean read it. But I think you get the audiobook faster if you're into
Probably.
that. But yeah, Phuc Tran is the guy's name. And he was actually at the Pitt Diversity Conference, which is how he talked at one of the one of the panels.
That's cool.
That's how I found. Yeah,
that's cool.
He's a really funny. A lot of it's funny. Like, he's a really interesting guy. So.
Well, bringing up the rear, I read a really kind of like scary vampire-y werewolf book. It's called The Return by Rachel Harrison.
I've heard of that.
It has this like bright pink cover. And it's kind of like Sex and the City meets a vampire novel. I don't love vampire stuff in general, but I like scary books during the summer. And I ended up not being able to read that at night. It was a little spooky. And they go to a really weird hotel, so that kind of makes it a lot more atmospheric, but it was fun. It was a fun book. I think I only ended up giving it 3 stars because I feel like it kind of flopped after the middle part, but I still finished it, and I often give up on books, so that says something. All right, so why don't do you want to talk about one more book, Jill, that you're reading? And then we'll go on to...
Another one for the book group that I just finished was The Ogre Story by Richard Powers. So whereas The Operator was kind of light, this definitely was not. It was 500 pages of pretty heavy, I guess some people are calling cli-fi or climate fiction or environmental fiction. So it was very, very well done. It did win the Pulitzer, and I could totally see why, because it was very well written. You could very easily, it brings together at least 9 different characters, but it was very easy to kind of know exactly who he was talking about or describing and what was going on. It's basically about the trees. And I say that if the Lorax wrote a book, this would be the book. And they did actually mention the Lorax in the book, which I thought was interesting.
That's my favorite Dr. Seuss book.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great description.
But yeah, it was really, really good. It was, not that I didn't appreciate trees to begin with, but you did learn a lot. There was a lot of science in it, which was, according to the author, completely backed up. It wasn't that part he did not make up at all. The trees really do communicate to each other and really do protect each other if there's an invasive species or anything like that. So it was really, really interesting.
That sounds good. I think I told you that I tried reading it and I couldn't get into it, but now, hearing you talk about it, I feel like I want to give that another shot.
Are the trees like the characters then? Is that?
That's a great question. We did not discuss that as a possibility. I would say they provide what they could potentially be considered characters. They do speak to some of the characters in some ways, so or guide some of the characters and some of their decisions. So sure.
That sounds pretty cool.
Okay.
I did see that book. I don't think I really remember the review, but yeah, that sounds familiar now. That sounds like a pretty cool one.
Yeah, 500 pages. That's pretty long, but if it's
you can do it, Kelley. I believe you.
I feel like that might be good. Like a winter.
Yeah.
I feel like long books are good winter books for some reason. I don't know why. So that might be a good book this winter. Okay, so what are you watching, Brad? Are you watching anything fascinating, interesting?
I am still watching a ton of hockey, which I was saying. Unfortunately, that is really cut into my show viewing. I did finish The Alienist. I did talk about that last week, the second season. I did like it. I think the best part about that show is just the setting. I feel like old-timey New York, as I like to say, is more of a character than anyone else. It's more of just not your typical murder mystery show, but it's kind of like that. But then just because of the setting, that makes it much more interesting. And what's Dakota?
Is that show based on the book?
It might be. Who wrote the book?
I want to. I
Is
hate
it-
to say this on this kind of podcast, or this kind of show. I want to say Caleb Carr, but I could put
Yes, that
totally
is it.
wrong.
That is based on a book by him. I didn't realize that was also the title, but yeah,
Nice.
it is based on his book. So I've never read the book, but maybe I would check it out because the show's very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the characters are interesting just because they're kind of, what do you want to say? It's like society people, but
Mhm.
they like kind of get into this like solving crimes thing. I don't know. Which, well, one guy's like a newspaper reporter, but he's like a society guy, and the other's like this rich like alienist who's the psychologist, and then this woman who starts her own detective agency, which is like a big deal then. So
It sounds juicy.
yeah. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Jill, what are you watching these days? Movies, shows?
Well,
whatever?
I have a few. I've been really interested in sci-fi fantasy shows right now. So right now I'm watching a show called Dark on Netflix.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
I've seen
I
it.
watched
I've
that.
seen the thing
I
for
have
it.
not
I've not
started
watched
the
it.
third season yet, though. So
Right, I'm in the second season. I'm
Okay.
almost through. Although I was talking to someone about, I feel like it could have ended after the fourth episode of the first season. It's good, but it's, I think, I don't know how to explain it. The one thing you have to kind of get over is that it's a German show. It's dubbed in English. So that, is kind of distracting at first, but it's really interesting. It's about time travel, basically, and how it affects this very small town in Germany. That also, and I feel like this has something to do with the time travel aspect. There's a nuclear power plant there, so I feel like that might have something to do with it.
That's not clear. That's not clear if it does.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of does, but I don't know.
So
Interesting.
you've seen it too, Brad?
Yeah, I've seen both seasons, and I guess the third season's out now.
Okay.
Which I haven't gotten to, but it is. If you go, I don't know what you watch your Netflix through, but if you change to like the language, audio language, the German, it'll do it in subtitles, so you don't have to listen to the dubbed in
Oh,
English.
yeah. I don't know.
I prefer
I'm
the
used to the
subtitles,
dubbing
honestly.
now, but
Because the dub thing, it just makes me like, it takes me right out of it. I just
Yeah.
start laughing at like the voices.
right,
But so at least
right.
you get to hear the characters like real voices, even though it's in a language you don't understand really. But yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's a creepy, decent watch. But I mean, yeah, it's confusing a lot of times, and I think the language barrier doesn't help really.
Yeah, I agree. I'm
Yeah.
not sure if I'll even watch the third season when it comes out.
Yeah.
Because it's
I'm gonna watch it. It's
getting
like
to be
I
a
put
lot
in
of
the
some of the
time.
same. At the end, it's always like, oh, that's so and so. They reveal, who this character is or whatever. But the other show that we're catching up on is Billions, which is a Showtime
Yeah.
Oh,
show, which I did not want to watch because it has Damian Lewis in it, and I do not like that actor. I don't know
you don't
why.
like Brody from Homeland or whatever?
There's just
No.
something about him I
Yeah, me
don't
neither.
like. So when he, gets what he deserves, I'm very happy. But it also has Paul Giamatti in it, who I love.
Oh, good.
So they kind of balance each other out.
Yeah.
But it's basically Damian Lewis is a hedge fund manager who really does do a lot of illegal stuff, and he's a billionaire because of it. And then Paul Giamatti is the U.S. district attorney for a district of New York that kind of oversees that area where Damian Lewis does his business. So it's they're always butting heads. And Paul Giamatti's wife actually works for Damian Lewis, so that's another little
That's a
twist.
conflict of interest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
So I think
sounds
we're in the third season. I think there's 5 seasons total. So it's actually very, very good.
I've heard.
That's crazy. I didn't realize it had been on that long. Like,
Mhm.
wow.
Me neither.
Okay.
I'm still watching Schitt's Creek.
Yeah, it's
I've already
long
talked
one, but
about
it's
it.
funny.
It's such a good show. It's hilarious, and then it also really kind of becomes a show with a really big heart, which I didn't expect. So it's so good. But more importantly, I watched a great scary movie this weekend. Everything's scary, what I'm talking about today.
Yeah, which is weird. It's not
yeah,
usually how you roll, but
right. The summer, I think I've talked to you about that, Jill, too. I love reading and watching scary things in the summer because nothing bad can happen in the summer.
right, nothing.
Even though so many scary movies are set
Jaws.
Like you could get like burned by fireworks. That's like the worst thing that can happen in the summer.
And so many scary movies are set in the summer. Oh, I know, it's so funny.
I was just gonna say that, but okay. Yeah.
This is called The Rental with
oh yes, I've heard of it.
With Allison Brie, and then I can't remember his name, but he plays Matthew in Downton Abbey, so he's so good. Oh, sorry, it's a big truck. And they two couples rent a house on the ocean for the weekend, and things happen. It's kind of like a really, I don't know, classier Friday the 13th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was really good. And Dave Franco directed it, which, that's
really?
Really interesting. I didn't realize.
Franco Bros.
Yeah. It was really well done. Like kind of atmospheric and a lot of good tension. And, when I watch scary movies, I interact a lot. And so I feel like I can never watch scary movies at a theater. I do lots of singing, like, don't go in there, you should not see that. Don't walk over there.
Is that how you deal with it?
Yep. Yeah. And lots of clapping. And then I also sit really close to the TV. So it's a very physical experience. Oh my God. So it's like, it would be way embarrassing to do that in the theater. So it was really fun. I highly recommend it. It was a fun movie.
So was it supernatural scary or was it?
No, I mean, it was like Jason-y scary, like from Friday the 13th. So it wasn't anything supernatural. It was like a creepy kind of guy thing.
Okay, because that I don't mind. I don't like the supernatural scary stuff because I'm sorry, that could really happen.
I agree.
I just really, you don't know,
right. I'm not afraid of like a man coming and like to my house killing me, which I'm sure that happens too. But for whatever reason, like haunted houses and like, I'm very interested in seeing that Kevin Bacon, You Should Have Left, which is not grammatically correct, but that's okay. Movie about like this very weird kind of possessed house. And but I think I'd be too scared. So
I don't know, like I don't know about that movie. It seemed bad, but the Rental seemed interesting though. I do like, I mean, after watching Glow, I'm kind of like a big Alison Brie fan.
She's good. She's really good. Okay, listening to, what are you guys listening to now?
Listening to?
Yes. I mean, this can be music, podcasts, audiobooks. Jill, you're listening to an audiobook, is that right?
I am. I'm listening to White Fragility by Robin DiAngelo. So
does she read it?
I don't know. Okay. I don't think she does, which I don't know. I'm always curious as to why authors don't read their own books. I don't really get that, but but yeah, it's of course, I think a lot of people kind of are already familiar with it, but I chose to listen to it just because sometimes I can absorb that kind of information a little bit better if I hear it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good. And she's coming to Pittsburgh. Well, she was supposed to come to Pittsburgh. Now I believe it's a virtual event, author event through Pittsburgh Arts and Lectures that I have a ticket to. So I think it's in September that they're doing that. So I kind of wanted to get this under my belt before she does that. But yeah, it's very, it deserves all the accolades it's gotten as far as explaining why we are in the situation that we're in socially and so forth. So, but yeah, it's good.
Good. Cool. What are you listening to, Brad? Music?
I've been listening to this podcast. It's called the Bigfoot Collectors Club. It's these like, I don't know if you've ever watched True Blood, the show. They're like a couple actors that have like been in things, but they're not like super famous. It's just like a comedy podcast, but they just talk about weird stories and kind of like with other like comedians / actors that they find.
That sounds good.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Like, it's not, I mean, they talk about like weird stuff, like Bigfoot and ghosts, but it's kind of on a humor level. I mean,
Yeah.
they kind of take it seriously, but they have people on that think they're witches sometimes, and that's kind of fun. And
Yeah.
then this one guy who thinks he's an actor. He does cartoon voices. He was kidnapped by Elvis in a UFO, he claims, which is a good one. I mean, they don't laugh at these people, but
Yeah.
it's they're just oh, okay.
Interesting, right? Oh,
So
that's
it's just sort of
interesting.
funny. And they just they'll play these weird games where they ask questions of people, and they gotta so it's just fun to listen to.
Okay.
So I would check it out if you just want.
There are so many good
shut up.
podcasts.
I know. When do you listen to podcasts? I don't have a
In the
long
car.
drive, so I was I don't know when to. Even this book that I'm listening to, it's it's in pieces because.
Right.
Sometimes I'll listen to them if I'm riding my bicycle, just driving, walking around, stuff like that. I know it's yeah. Sometimes just when I'm sitting at home, if I really want to finish it, but usually I'm in the middle of something, doing something else. There's this other one that I listen to.
When I clean. That's what I do.
Yeah,
that's a good time to do it.
Yeah.
This other one along the same lines, it's called Bananas, and it has an awesome theme song. It's also to comedians. It's on the network of the Murder People, My Favorite Murder People.
Okay.
Okay.
Sarah listens to that show, and they had this commercial when we were driving to Florida, and I was I want to listen to the show. And it's just weird true stories that they talk about, and they're just the craziest stories they can find online, and then they just talk about them, and they're just hilarious.
That sounds good.
Yeah, it's a great, if you want to laugh, it's a good one. And I obviously like weird stories, so yes.
Yeah. Well, yeah, who doesn't? I'm not listening to any audiobooks or podcasts, but I just downloaded Lady Gaga's Chromatica. And it's real good.
The Gaga.
Yeah.
I haven't listened to any of that. No.
She's so good. It's kind of energizing and weird, of course, because it's Lady Gaga, and she's just incredible. It's really interesting. So yeah, that's what I've been listening to. But this was fun. This was good. It was nice having you on, Jill.
Oh, thanks for having me.
You'll have to come back next season, whatever format manifestation we take. October, but stay tuned. Yeah, and I guess we'll see you in October.
Yeah. Hi to all our listeners out there.
Yeah, all our big fans. Bye.
Bye.